How perfectly timed your parents' gift was, $5,000 for our little one. Good thing he doesn't need the money just yet. We can help my mom finish her renovation, said my husband cheerfully. But that evening, when he came home from work, he froze in shock. Before we continue, drop a comment telling us which country you're watching from. Enjoy the video. The family gathering was warm and cozy. Guests, both close and distant relatives, chatted excitedly, cutting each other off with congratulations for the new parents and well wishes for their godson's long and happy life. Toasts followed one after another, filling the air with words about faith, hope, and of course, love. Oliver, Emily's father, raised his glass. Usually stern, his face now beamed with fatherly pride. My dear ones, today is a special day, the day our grandson entered the world of faith. Grace and I want nothing but the best for him. That's why we've decided to give a little gift. He nodded toward Grace, who held a thick envelope in her hands. Gentle and caring, she stepped forward and handed the envelope to Emily and Ethan. This is for you, dear ones. For Alex. May he grow up healthy and happy. Inside the envelope was $5,000. A significant amount, especially for a young family just starting out. Emily smiled shyly as she accepted it. Mom, Dad, thank you so much. This is incredible. She glanced at Ethan, who was smiling too, but there was something in his eyes she couldn't quite read. Ethan hugged Emily's parents. Oliver, Grace, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We'll make sure to use this money wisely. Our Alex will have everything he needs. In that moment, Emily felt like the luckiest woman alive. She had a loving husband, a beautiful son, caring parents. And now, this generous gift, meant to be the foundation of Alex's future. Everything felt like it was falling into place. After the toasts and well wishes, the guests began to leave. Emily and Ethan stayed behind to help her parents clean up. As they washed dishes and wiped down tables, Emily daydreamed about how they'd spend the money. Maybe buy that new stroller she'd been wanting for so long, or open a bank account in Alex's name so he'd have a solid sum by the time he turned 18. The possibilities were endless, and all of them felt wonderful. That evening, when they got home, Emily took the envelope and tucked it away in a cabinet. Well, Ethan, shall we start planning how to spend our little fortune? She asked with a playful wink. Ethan, exhausted from the party, yawned. Yeah, sure, Em. Let's think about it tomorrow. Right now, I just want to sleep. He wrapped his arms around her and kissed her on the cheek. Thank you for our son. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Emily snuggled close, feeling the warmth of his body. And you're the best thing that ever happened to me, Ethan. She believed that. She wanted to believe it. That night, Emily couldn't fall asleep. She lay beside Ethan, listening to his steady breathing. Her mind was racing, about the future, about Alex, about the home they'd build together. It felt like all their struggles were behind them and nothing but peace and happiness lay ahead. The next morning was surprisingly sunny. Sunlight slipped through the half-drawn curtains, gently tickling Emily's cheek. Alex was snoozing quietly in his crib. Everything felt calm. Perfect. Emily walked into the kitchen to find Ethan already working on breakfast. The smell of fresh coffee and sizzling toast filled the apartment, wrapping it in warmth and comfort. Morning, sleepyhead. Ethan smiled, handing her a mug. How'd you sleep? Great, Emily replied, trying to sound natural. She sat down at the table, watching as Ethan flipped toast like a pro. Ethan, have you thought about how we're going to use the money our parents gave us? She asked casually. Ethan looked up from his phone and met her eyes. Yeah, I've already decided. Emily's stomach tightened. Decided? What do you mean? He smiled, but his eyes didn't. I gave the money to my mom. Emily froze, spoon halfway to her mouth. What? You gave it to who? My mom, Em. To Diane. Ethan said it like it was the most obvious and reasonable thing in the world. But why? Why would you give her that money? That was for Alex, her voice trembled. Ethan shrugged. What does Alex need it for right now? He's just a baby. He doesn't need anything yet. But my mom. She really does. She's done so much for us. Emily stared at him in disbelief. A wave started rising inside her, crashing through hurt, frustration, anger. But on the outside, she was still. Almost cold. You didn't even ask me, she said flatly. You just gave it away. Like it was yours alone. Ethan frowned. Come on, don't start. I told you, she needs it more. More than our son. Emily repeated, and this time her voice had an edge. Can't you understand? Ethan was getting irritated. It's temporary. Alex will have everything he needs. Just not right now. Because right now your mom needs it more, Emily finished for him. It's always your mom who needs it more. Do you ever think about me? About our child? Or are you still stuck at your mother's side like a little boy? Ethan flushed red. Don't be ridiculous. I just wanted to help. Help? Emily gave a bitter laugh. You helped your mom. And betrayed us. You betrayed your son. She pushed her chair back, her legs shaky as she stood. Suddenly, despite the sunshine outside, she felt freezing. Come on, don't say that. Ethan reached for her hand, but she pulled away. I'm not saying anything, she whispered. I'm just thinking. She walked out of the kitchen, leaving Ethan alone. One thought echoed in her mind, this wasn't the first time. And sadly, it won't be the last. She remembered all the moments when Ethan put his mother's opinion above hers. All the compromises she had to make just to keep the peace. But now, when it came to their son, she couldn't stay silent anymore. Emily stepped into the nursery and sat on the edge of the crib. Alex was still sleeping soundly, unaware of the storm brewing in their family. She looked at his tiny face, his little hands and feet, and a wave of tenderness and determination rose in her chest. She had to protect him, from selfishness and indifference. She gently stroked his soft hair and whispered. I'll always be here. I won't let you down. The decision hit her like a lightning strike. She couldn't keep living like this. She didn't want her son growing up in a home filled with tension and mistrust. She deserved better. And so did Alex. Throughout the day, Emily moved with a calm, unsettling precision that would have scared Ethan, if he'd seen it. Inside, she was a storm. But outside, she was ice. She didn't cry, didn't yell, didn't ask questions. She just packed. She started with Alex's things. Tiny onesies, baby shirts, little hats, all freshly washed and ironed by her. Each item she touched stung like a pin in her heart, a reminder of dreams now fading. She packed them neatly into a bag, trying not to think about how Ethan would search for them later, confused and hurt like a child looking for a lost toy. But she had no choice. She had to protect her son from this toxic environment, from always coming second to Diane's whims. Next, she packed her own things. There wasn't much, really. Most of her life had revolved around Ethan and their shared home. Her dreams, her goals, they had slowly dissolved into his. She opened the closet and pulled out her favorite dress, the one she'd bought with her first paycheck after college. She remembered Ethan saying it was too bold, too flashy. She put it on. Just for a moment, she wanted to feel like herself again, independent and strong. Alex was still sleeping peacefully in his crib, breathing softly. Emily came close and watched him for a long time. She stroked his head, whispering words of love and promises that everything would be okay. She knew it would be hard on her own. But she was ready, ready to do whatever it took so her son could grow up surrounded by love and respect, not guilt for not being the priority. She called a taxi. When the car arrived, she picked up Alex, the bag with his things, and her small suitcase. She took one last look around the apartment. There had been good times here, beautiful memories. But all of them were overshadowed by one thing: lack of respect and equality. She walked out the door and didn't look back. Emily sat in her childhood bedroom at her parents' house, a small, cozy space she used to share with her sister. Alex was asleep in his stroller, snuggled under a warm blanket. Her parents, Oliver and Grace, sat on either side of her, holding her hands. "Emily, sweetheart, we'll always be here for you," said Grace softly. "We'll help you through this." "You're not alone," Oliver added. Emily smiled through her tears. She knew she could count on them. They had always been her support system. But she also knew she had to face this life herself. She had to be strong, for Alex. Ethan, as always, was at work. He worked as a sales manager in a big company, a job that demanded constant attention and energy. He didn't love it, but it paid the bills. And according to his mom, that was what mattered. He had no idea. He thought everything was fine. Sure, there had been a tense conversation that morning, but Emily usually cooled off quickly. He figured by evening, things would go back to normal. Maybe they'd watch some TV together, talk about something unimportant. He even considered picking up flowers to make it up to her, but didn't rush. There was always time for that later. His day was filled with the usual: meetings, calls, client visits. He tried not to think about the argument, but it kept creeping back. He knew he'd upset her, knew he was in the wrong. But he couldn't understand why she reacted so strongly. After all, he hadn't done anything bad. He'd just helped his mom. That evening, exhausted and hungry, Ethan returned home. He opened the door and stepped inside. Silence. That was strange. Emily usually greeted him at the door with a smile, asking how his day had been. But now, nothing. Just silence. He walked into the living room. Empty. Then peeked into the nursery. The crib was bare. A chill ran down his spine. "Em," he called out. No answer. He went into the kitchen. A note lay on the table. His hands shook as he picked it up and read. "You chose your mother. I chose our son." It felt like the whole room had been sucked into a vacuum, muting the sounds from the street, leaving him face to face with a sentence that hit like a verdict. He read it again. And again. Hoping it was some kind of cruel joke, that any second now Emily would walk through the door laughing, saying, "Got you." But the door stayed quiet. The apartment was silent, eerily silent. A silence he hadn't known since Alex was born. His hands trembled, and the paper slipped through his fingers, landing on the floor. He looked around. Nothing. The fridge hummed, useless now. On the table sat Emily's half-finished cup of tea, with faint stains at the bottom. He picked it up instinctively, brought it to his face, trying to find even a trace of her scent, something to connect him to Emily and Alex. But the tea was cold. All that remained was a bitter aftertaste. Ethan wandered into the nursery. The crib stood empty and unmade. The dresser was bare, no photos of Alex, no baby things. Everything was gone, as if none of it had ever existed. As if he'd woken from a dream where he had a family. Only it wasn't a dream. It was real. And he'd destroyed it with his own hands. He tried calling Emily. Ring, ring, silence. Then short beeps, number blocked. He dialed again. And again. Clutching the phone so hard it hurt. But all he got was the cold tone of disconnection. A lump rose in his throat. He couldn't breathe. He ran out of the apartment, not knowing where he was going, what to do. His legs carried him to his mother's place. Diane opened the door, her face fixed in its usual disapproving frown. "What's wrong, Ethan? You look pale," she said, studying his face. Ethan walked past her without a word, into the kitchen, and sat down at the table. Diane followed him, concern creeping into her voice. Left, he finally said, each word like pulling teeth. Diane frowned. Left? You had a fight? Come on, that happens. You're young. It'll blow over. She's gone for good. Took Alex. Left a note. Ethan went silent, unable to repeat Emily's words out loud. Diana sat across from him, watching her son closely. For the first time in a long while, something like fear flickered in her eyes. What did the note say? Ethan pulled the crumpled paper from his pocket and handed it to her. Diana read it. Her expression shifted, confusion, then anger, and finally something strange, something Ethan couldn't place. What an idiot, she snapped, tossing the note onto the table. She's upset over money. I did it all for you. Ethan looked up at her, eyes filled with pain and disappointment. Mom, it's not about the money. It's about how you always make decisions for me, for us. You didn't even ask if we needed that money. You just took it like it was your right. Diana turned to the window. I thought I was doing the right thing. No, Mom. You thought it was right for you. That's how it's always been. And I always let you. I was afraid to upset you, afraid to disappoint you. But in the end, I hurt Emily. I lost my family. Silence fell. Diana said nothing, still staring out the window. Ethan saw her shoulders trembling. For the first time, she didn't seem powerful or in control, she looked small. Lost. I didn't think it would come to this, she finally whispered. I thought Emily would forgive you. She's always so quiet. So calm. Exactly, Ethan said. She was quiet. She held it in. But eventually, even the quiet ones break. You always said her silence was suspicious. That it meant she was planning something. You were right. Ethan stood. I'm going. Where? Diana asked. To find Emily. To say I'm sorry. To try to fix things. Even if I don't know if that's possible. He left, leaving Diana alone. Emily's words echoed in his head, you chose your mother. I chose my son. And suddenly, he realized, she hadn't just chosen their son. She had chosen herself. A life where she'd be respected. Where her voice mattered. And he had chosen comfort. Chosen safety under his mother's wing. And now, he had nothing. Ethan wandered the streets, not knowing where to go. His mind replayed everything, how, step by step, he had broken his own family. How he didn't notice Emily fading beside him. How he let his mother invade their life. He remembered the day they met. Emily had been full of energy, joyful, radiant. He'd fallen for her instantly. But then Diana came into the picture. Always nearby, always advising, always knowing best. And little by little, he stopped listening to Emily. He only heard his mother. He had made a terrible mistake. He betrayed Emily. He betrayed his son. He betrayed the family they'd built. And now, he had to live with that. Ethan stopped walking. Pulled out his phone and tried calling Emily again. But it was the same as before. Silence. Blocked. He was alone. He decided to go to Emily's parents' house. He knew she'd be there. He had to see her. Had to speak to her. At least try to explain how he felt. The house greeted him with cold silence. He knocked. Grace opened the door. There was no surprise, no smile. Just tired eyes and polite distance. "What do you want, Ethan?" she asked flatly. "I want to see Em. To talk to her." "Emily doesn't want to see you or talk to you." "Please, Grace. I know I messed up. I want to apologize. I want to fix this." Grace hesitated. Something like sympathy passed through her eyes. "All right. I'll let her know you came. But I'm not promising anything." She left him standing at the door and went inside. Ethan stood frozen, unsure what to expect. He heard faint voices behind the door, Grace's and Emily's. He couldn't make out the words, but he knew they were talking about him. A few minutes later, Grace returned. "She'll talk to you. But only for 5 minutes. And only outside." Ethan nodded, ready to take whatever he could get. Grace stepped aside, and Emily came out, holding Alex wrapped in a blanket. Ethan froze, unable to take his eyes off his son. It had been so long. Emily stopped a few steps away, keeping her distance. Her eyes held no warmth, no anger, just a calm, icy emptiness. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice flat. Ethan stared, unsure how to begin. So much to say, yet his throat closed up. I'm sorry. I know I messed up. I want to ask for your forgiveness." "Forgiveness?" Emily gave a bitter laugh. "And what exactly would that fix? Will it bring back the family I lost? Will it give me back a husband who thinks about me and his child, not just his mommy?" Ethan dropped his head. "I know I don't deserve it. But I want to try. I want to be better. A good husband. A good father. I want us to be a family again." Emily looked down at Alex. "You're too late, Ethan. You already made your choice. You chose your mom. And I chose my son. And myself." She turned and started walking back toward the house. Ethan called out. "Give me a chance." Emily paused, but didn't turn around. "Chances don't come twice, Ethan. You had yours." She disappeared into the house, leaving him alone on the doorstep with his grief. He stared at the door as it closed, feeling like he had lost her for good. He knew the road ahead would be long, painful. A path of reckoning, of trying to change, of hoping to earn back her trust. And he was willing to walk it. For Alex. For Emily. For the family he still hoped to rebuild, if there was even the faintest chance left.